Hey everyone, Savannah Future here in the attic, and about a year ago I made a video talking about AI and the implications of AI, and the TLDW Too Long Didn't Watch version of that video was, well, it's not that bad right now, but it might become an issue in a couple of years. Cue 1 year later, because of course I underestimated just how much money was in this entire business and just how willing the billionaire class is to just buy their way into this business. We have advanced quite a fair bit. Now, this video will basically be a two-parter video where first we look at some positive stuff and then we look at some very disturbing dystopian stuff, just like the previous video, because although some things have changed, not everything has changed, I guess. So yeah, let's dive into some of the good stuff first. Now, you have all probably seen the videos that have been made with AI a couple of thousand times, because every mainstream media has already covered it, and every larger YouTuber has covered it as well. So these images are not new to anyone. I will put them like here or something. These are all prompted videos. So basically someone says, I want to see this, and the algorithm thing figures out how to do it. And now there's no doubt in my mind that this is once again very much based on work by others. But before we get into that, let's talk about the positive side of this. So me being a solo creator, one of the big challenges is adding visuals to videos, because even though this set is starting to look pretty nice, it's kind of static, right? So if you want to add elements, you need to invest time into either acquiring those elements or making those elements. Now, one kind of simple-ish solution to adding elements is stock video. And there's quite a bit of stock video available, which you can just buy or license, so you can use in your videos. The kind of downside with stock video is that it's often quite expensive. So if you're just running as a solo creator with, well, some budget, but not quite stock video budget, that's not really something you can get into. Unless you're willing to really invest into your channel, that's probably not going to work so well. So your other option is just going out there and shooting your own stock video. Now, aside from me and my girlfriend being complete introverts, so walking around the street with a camera is not really something we do, let's put it that way. In the area where I live, although Groningen is a great city, it's not really a futuristic, high-tech, cool city. So if you are going to walk down the streets here, it will basically look like you've transported back in time about 200-300 years at least, but just with modern people. It's kind of like one of those tourist traps vibes, where you have old buildings and new people, and it's just really, really kind of jarring. I mean, it's a nice city. It's just not Neo-Tokyo or something like that, right? So I could go out with my camera and be very awkward and shoot video, but it wouldn't look like the kind of thing that fits my theme. So I would have to either go somewhere where things do work out, or I have to buy stock footage from people that live in cities that actually look somewhat futuristic. Aside from the implication, of course, that if you start to film in public, well, you are going to get some people annoyed. That's pretty much a given. At least in the Netherlands, it's still not really a thing people like. If you point a camera at anyone, they are pretty likely to get mad. So walking around the street with a camera is going to raise a lot of questions, and you're probably going to get into trouble. Let alone once you start releasing footage of random people onto the internet, that's kind of tricky. So the idea that I can just type in anything and get a video out of it is very compelling from a creator standpoint, because I am not a video creator. Well, I try, but it's not my mainstay thing. I want to make music things and accompany that with imagery. So really taking that imagery part to a lower level of effort would be a great help, of course. Would be pretty great. So I can definitely see a lot of advantages there where prompt video will help. And if you think a little bit bigger, aside from stock video, this system could also create maybe even feature-length movies, but at the very least, music video length feature movies. Like you can probably prompt entire stories. Considering this tech will improve, it will probably be able to have consistency as well between scenes. So you could potentially make the Michael Jackson Thriller-like video, but just from your PC without having to hire a ton of actors and build crazy sets and get crazy camera equipment. So that's very exciting. Also for movie makers, which are plentiful on this platform. It's a great way to add things. And even on a smaller level, if you want to have like graphic elements in your video, like you want to have, I don't know, a floating graph here that does something, making that in After Effects is at the very best annoying. Because After Effects is an absolute mess. Resolve maybe better, but still, it's quite a lot of work for a short graphic thing that just pops up, is there, and then just buggers off. So making that process a lot faster is definitely a boon for the creator sphere on the video creation end. But that's also where we need to go into the not so good part, because that's basically the advantage of this system. It's important to note as well that this system is built by a very rich lead, which has access to things that none of us will ever have access to. So they are very much gatekeeping this, which is in part good, because you don't want this tech to be in everyone's hands, but you also know that it will eventually end up in everyone's hands. So for now, it's just a very small group of people that can access this and create video prompts. Now, what are the implications of making video? Well, first off, if you can just make any video, it's pretty easy to make videos of other people saying things that they never said, which is kind of problematic, especially once it gets to the level of consistency and realism that we are approaching. Again, just like a year ago, we're not quite there yet, but these videos, if you just glance at them, will look convincing enough to most people. And that's already a very dangerous point to be. As soon as you have something that doesn't immediately look off, it will trick people. It's that simple. So this tech can be used for scamming and phishing as well. Very effectively, because it's not really that hard to find pictures of someone and their relatives. And if you can teach this model what this person looks like, it becomes fairly easy to make convincing video calls, or send convincing video messages at least. You can also make blackmail content, because, well, my face is on the internet. My voice is on the internet, and there's voice synthesis as well, so it's not really that hard, once this tech becomes more widespread, to create a video of me saying some pretty bad shit, and then saying, well, if you don't want this on the internet, you probably have to pay up, right? So it becomes pretty simple to absolutely destroy people's lives with stuff like this. And that's just the small scale, because you can, of course, also take politicians and make them say weird things. Which can cause some serious problems. So I'm not that optimistic still about this entire idea. I like that there's a creator side to it, where creators will have a very nice, cool tool they can play around with, but I mostly see the negative side, where people will abuse this technology quite badly. Now, another downside, which I think is in the grand scale of things, I think being able to make anyone say anything convincingly is much worse than this problem, but you are also basically destroying creative jobs, just like with the prompt art. Prompt video will do the same, but basically at a larger scale, because if you can prompt anything on video, why would you need set designers? Why would you need camera people? Why would you need a drone operator, focus putters, makeup artists, just actors in general. I mean, if you can eliminate most of that, it will save a fair bit of money. Now, a lot of people will say, well, there will be new jobs. But this entire AI thing is pretty disruptive. Like with, for instance, farming, where at some point you get better machines that can do more in less time. We simply got more farms, or we got tech jobs to replace those farm jobs. With this AI tech, I don't think it quite scales that way, because you only need so many data center engineers and so many prompters to basically saturate the entire market. And what are you going to do? Let's say I am a video creator and my thing is to make stock video. I could go out there with my camera, travel the world and shoot all kinds of cool video. But how am I going to compete with the guy who sits at home and can type about 15 prompts per hour generating video? There's just no way. Financially as well, because he can just type a prompt, let it go to another terminal, type another prompt, and let that go. So in one day, he can shoot more video than I could in basically a week or a month even. So it's very hard to compete with this field, and you need very few people to do this. The same with AI art. Let's say I'm an artist and I draw things. If you want to do a convincing piece of work, you are going to spend, well, let's say 15 to 20 hours on it, which I think isn't that crazy. I mean, it depends on your style and the size, etc., etc. But let's say you do photorealistic portraits of people. It wouldn't surprise me if you do that on a normal canvas size, that it takes about 15 to 20 hours to pull something like that off, maybe even more. Versus the guy that will just take your picture and throw it into the algorithm and say, make a photorealistic drawing of this. Let's go. I'll grab some coffee or I'll do 15 more prompts. And when I get back, I will have 15 of these portraits in about an hour, versus you doing one in 15 hours. You just simply can't compete with it. And now with the advent of video also being more fakeable, it's also kind of hard to check if an artist is actually an artist, right? Because in the current sphere, there's already quite a few people that will sell themselves as artists. Well, they're really prompt engineers, but they will just say, no, I draw this stuff. And right now you can kind of call them out by saying, well, show me a video of you drawing whatever you say you're drawing. And if they don't actually have the ability to draw, you will catch them. That's not going to work if they can prompt a video showing them drawing something. So it becomes just an extra level of complex to find the frauds and the people that cheat the system. So it's very troubling, and I don't really see how we are going to work our way around this. Now, I've seen some comments about there are special identifier things that AI can't fake, but really honestly, if we can make a AI thing, machine learning tool object, learn to make videos in roughly a year, these impossible to counterfeit measures will be cracked in no time, just like locks. Whenever there's a new lock that is absolutely impeccable, you will have the lock-picking lawyer in about a week say, well, there you go, I've opened it in 20 or 30 seconds. So that will happen with this as well. You might be able to protect your work for a little bit, tokenization, that sort of stuff, but I don't think in the long run that will hold up. So it's a tricky situation we're in. And I'm not quite sure how we should be moving forward from this point on. I mean, the train will keep going. There's no way I or any single person will stop it. And I'm even convinced not an entire country or continent could stop this movement, because it's already going. And there's just so much on the line for these tech companies to nail this. Yeah, it's going to happen. Now, another thing I quickly wanted to touch on while we're on the awesome topic of identity theft, just to add another layer of lovely inconvenience, We also saw the release of the Apple Vision Pro, the VAR, AR spatial computing unit, or whatever Intel has, or Apple has thought of as a fitting name for this. This adds another fun little identity theft trick, because the Apple Vision Pro does this avatar thing. Now it's kind of crappy, considering how much money they spent on it, but nonetheless, it's a way to have a headset which is allowed to be worn in public that has cameras all around it. Because if you scan your own face, you actually have to hold the headset to your face. So you could potentially just have this headset on, walk down a store, and capture people's likeness while they are unaware of it. Which is, I think, extremely troubling. Because even though their tech is kind of not there yet, if you're going to mix it with the OpenAI stuff, you might just be able to create some very, very convincing deepfakes. So yeah, I think we've had some interesting ages, the information technology age. I think Jamie and Adam coined the term the glass age at some point. I think we're now slowly entering the fun little identity theft age, where it becomes surprisingly easy to disguise yourself as anyone else. Well, at least on the internet, not in real life, but it's not that hard to disguise your place of origin when you're broadcasting stuff on the internet. If you take the time to do that, of course. So, troubling, but also exciting. I'm very interested to know what you think about this entire AI movement. Do you think it will be mostly good? Do you think it will be mostly bad? Or do you think we should just shut up and wait and see whatever happens? And if things go batshit insane, well, whatever. Nothing you can do about it anyways. This is my take. If you have any comments, leave them down below. I like to read them, and see you next time.